Present.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Here.
Commissioner Wilson,
Present.
Mayor Kayler.
Present. Tonight, Commissioner Abraham will do our invocation, and Meg Hancock will lead our Pledge of Allegiance tonight. So,
Our Father which art in heaven, we thank you so much for spring. I truly believe everyone in this chamber has not looked forward to spring as much as we have this year after the winter we've had. We thank you for the examples that you give us for us to appreciate today. And we would not have been able to do that had we not gone through yesterday. So we believe that the recognition is the blessing. So we thank you for that. In your subtle teachings, these things we ask in Yeshua's name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
and Meg, if you'll stay here for a little bit. This month, the month of April, is National Poetry Month, and Meg won second place in the Rotary Speech contest for the local chapter here. Congratulations. So I asked Meg if she would pick out one of her favorite poems tonight and read a short poem for us in honor of Poetry Month. Thank you.
I'm going to read I Hear America Singing by Walt Whitman. And I like this poem because it talks about several facets and parts of the American life and livelihood, and it goes through several different people that are integral to the American society. So this is I Hear America Singing by Walt Whitman. I hear America singing, the varied carols I hear, those of mechanics, each one singing as it should be blithe and strong. The carpenter singing his as he measures his plank or beam, the mason singing as he makes ready for work or leaves off work, the boatman singing what belongs to him in his boat, the deckhand singing on the steamboat deck, the shoemaker singing as he sits on his bench, the hatter singing as he stands, the woodcutter's song, the plowboy's on his way home in the morning, or at noon intermission, or at sundown, the singing of the mother, or of the young wife at work, or of the girl sewing or washing. Each singing belongs to him or her, and to none else. The day what belongs to the day. At night the party of young fellows, robust, friendly, singing with open mouths their strong and melodious songs.
Thank you so much.
Okay, are there any additions or deletions tonight?
There are not.
I have a proclamation tonight, and from the Office of the Mayor, it's a proclamation for Child Abuse Prevention Month. So if you all would come forward, please. Hello.
Hello, thank you for having the
Yes.
proclamation to present this evening and for allowing us to be here.
Okay, would you introduce everyone with you
Certainly.
tonight and yourself as well, please?
I'm Lee Emmons. I am Executive Director of Child Watch Counseling and Advocacy Center. We work for child abuse prevention and treatment, and so this month is very important to us. Child abuse is not something that we always like to think about, but it's important to acknowledge that it exists right here in Paducah, and it's important for us to take steps toward prevention, whether that is helping out a parent, praising a child, or working to ensure our community provides services and programs that are good for families and good for children. And we have a positive message tonight in that prevention works. Research shows that education and prevention and education about ways to prevent child abuse do make a difference in incidences of child abuse. So we want to focus somewhat on the positives of prevention in addition to all the negatives that come along with child abuse. I'm very happy that some of our board members could come this evening. This is Stephanie Reese. Stephanie is with McCracken County School System, and Renee Barger. Renee is a very active volunteer and a retired educator. Sean Crane. Sean is with USEC and has been a Child Watch board member and volunteer for a long time. Ms. Sandy Went. Sandy is one of our very designated volunteers for our CASA program, the Court-Appointed Special Advocates program. And Mr. Robert Tyler, who is with Paducah City Schools and is a board member.
Welcome, and thank you all for all the good work you do, and it's not an easy job. So thank you again. I'm going to read the proclamation, and then I'll give that to you, Lee.
Thank you.
Whereas National Child Abuse Prevention Month will be recognized throughout the United States as well as in the Commonwealth of Kentucky during the month of April 2014, and whereas preventing child abuse and neglect is a community problem that depends on involvement among people throughout the community, and whereas child maltreatment occurs when people find themselves in stressful situations without community resources and don't know how to cope, and whereas during periods of economic challenges, families feel more vulnerable, and as a result, child abuse and neglect increases dramatically. And whereas child abuse and neglect can be reduced by making sure that each family has the support they need to raise their children in a healthy environment. And whereas child abuse is considered to be one of the nation's most serious public health problems, with scientific studies documenting the link between the abuse and the neglect of children and the wide range of medical, emotional, psychological, and behavioral disorders, and whereas all citizens should become involved in supporting families in raising their children in a safe and nurturing environment, and whereas effective child abuse prevention programs succeed because of partnerships created among state and local government agencies, schools, faith communities, civic organizations, law enforcement agencies, and the business community. Now, therefore, be it resolved that I, Gail Kaler, the mayor of City of Paducah, Kentucky, do hereby proclaim the month of April 2014 as Child Abuse Month, and urge all citizens, community agencies, faith groups, medical facilities, and businesses to increase their participation in our efforts to support families, thereby preventing child abuse and strengthening our community. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Okay, we'll go to the minutes. Commissioner Abraham, please.
I move that the reading of the minutes for March 25th, 2014 City Commission meeting be waived, and that the minutes of said meetings prepared by the city clerk be approved as written.
Second.
Has everyone had a chance to look at the minutes? City Clerk?
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Kaler.
Aye. We're going to appointments. Got it. Whereas subject to the approval of the Board of Commissioners, I hereby appoint Marlene Anderson as a member of, is that the first one I do? Okay.
It's all together, yeah.
Marlene Anderson is a member of the Board of Ethics. This term will expire February 10th, 2017, and whereas subject to the approval of the Board of Commissioners, I hereby reappoint Jill Gottweier is a member of the Board of Ethics. This term will expire February 10th, 2016.
I move that the Board of Commissioners approve the action of Mayor Kaler in appointing Marlene Anderson and reappointing Jill Gottweier as members of the Board of Ethics.
Second.
City Clerk, please.
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Kaler.
Aye. Motions, Commissioner Rhodes, please.
All right. I move that the following documents and proposals be received and filed. Documents: certificate of liability insurance and performance bond for Central Paving Company of Paducah Incorporated, notice of cancellation of the Board of Commissioners of the City of Paducah, Kentucky for Tuesday, April the 1st, 2014. Agreement with Central Paving Company of Paducah for compost grinding of tree debris and yard waste. U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development, PHA 5-year and annual plan for City of Paducah Section 8 Housing Program. 2014 City of Paducah Section 8 Housing Administrative Plan. Paducah Symphony Orchestra Incorporated financial statements for years ended June 30th, 2012 and June 30th, 2013. Paducah Waterworks financial highlights for month ended February 28th, 2014. Proposal for purchase of the Columbia Theater by the Columbia Club Incorporated.
Second.
City Clerk, please.
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Kayler.
Aye. Municipal orders. Commissioner Wilson, please.
Upon the recommendation of the city manager, the Board of Commissioners of the City of Paducah order that the personnel changes on the attached list be approved.
Second.
All right. City Clerk, please.
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Kayler.
Aye. Commissioner Abraham, please.
I move that a municipal order entitled, "A Municipal Order Authorizing the Mayor to Execute a Lease Agreement Between the City of Paducah and Oscar Cross Boys and Girls Club of Paducah Incorporated for lease of the Armory Building and appurtenant parking area located at 2956 Park Avenue, Paducah, Kentucky, be adopted."
Second.
Hi, Mark.
This is one we'd actually been working on probably for about a year and a half, and I thought this one had gone through, but we had another agreement for some repairs, and so this is the actual lease that they'll have for 10 years, and they're doing some great work over there.
They are. I talked with Alan today, and they really are, and they're looking forward to having maybe another kind of grand opening to show, especially a lot of the donors to Oscar Cross Boys and Girls Club, what they've gotten done over there.
Yeah, they were so cramped for space at the original site, and to have that room.
Being able to split the age groups
that's important.
is really good too.
So exciting things are obviously ahead for that.
And Mark, you're retaining the garage for storage purposes for your department. So
Yes, we're using that area over there still, and some of the parking lot area right for that.
Okay. It's good use of that building.
Yes.
All right. City Clerk?
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Kayler.
Aye. Go on to ordinances adoptions. Commissioner Galt.
I move that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing the sale of municipally owned real property located at 510 through 514 Broadway in Paducah to the Columbia Club, Inc. for purposes of redevelop and revitalization. This ordinance is summarized as follows. In this ordinance, the City of Paducah City declares city-owned real property located at 510 through 514 Broadway in Paducah, McCracken County, Kentucky, upon which it is situated, the Columbia Theater, as surplus property and authorizes the sale of the surplus property to the Columbia Club, Inc., a Kentucky nonprofit corporation in accordance with the requirements of KRS 82.083 and the sealed bidding procedures set forth in the City of Paducah Codes of Ordinance, Section 2-668. And pursuant to the terms of the memorandum of understanding among the city and the Columbia Club, Inc., for purposes of redevelopment and revitalization of the Columbia Theater. This ordinance further authorizes the mayor of the city of Paducah, Kentucky, to execute and deliver a deed of conveyance of the surplus property and the memorandum of understanding.
Second.
Yes, good evening. This is being done so the Columbia Club can apply for a brownfield grant. Since the last meeting, they did get some preliminary numbers in, which came in a little bit higher than expected. The Columbia Club still wants to proceed with the state brownfield grant application. At this time, they're waiting to see if some of their soft costs can be donated. If those soft costs are not donated, they want to try to leverage that for their federal brownfield grant in October, but they still are planning on proceeding at this time.
What about in here, the changes to insurance provisions?
We have met, we've talked with KLC through Cindy, and the insurance provisions are taken care of at this time.
Any other questions?
Thank you.
Thank you. City Clerk?
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Kayler.
Aye. Commissioner Rhodes, please.
Okay, I move that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to execute change order number 1 with ICA Engineering Incorporated, formerly known as Florence and Hutchison, for the Noble Park Pool renovation project. This ordinance is summarized as follows. The mayor is hereby authorized and directed to execute change order number 2 in the amount of $13,230 to pay for additional construction and engineering services for completion of the Noble Park Pool renovation project, increasing the total contract price to $197,425.
Second.
Mark, you want?
This is, this is just the end of nearing the very end of the project, and so that's the adoption. So I know that some folks had some questions regarding that.
How about, I think this project has gone on as long as Sandra and I have been elected.
You're right.
Can you kind of give us sort of a monetary update? How are we doing?
I can. And I was called earlier, and I had a little time to put this down in writing for everybody. As you recall, we've been through a whole series of bids and everything else like that. When it comes down to the bottom line on what was the original bid and engineering costs that we had anticipated, well, the original bid, if you remember, came in very high. It was $281,000. We had $98,000 of engineering on top of that. So we were in the neighborhood of $1,379,000 just to get what we originally started. We thought that was too high. That did not include the concession work. That was just the spray pad and the main pool areas. And so that did not include that. Well, after all is said and done, and we came back and we talked about it, and we decided to put out 3 different bids, one on the pool, one on the spray ground, one on the concession stand. We, after all is said and done, we are still $30,000 below, or $25,000 below that original bid. And that also got the concession stand put into the project. So overall, about $25,000 less than that original bid, and that's including all the engineering and everything else that goes along with it, the increases in that.
So
I can give you a
after
better
all the
breakdown.
change orders, we still save money.
We still saved money over that original
good.
bid
And got the concessions.
and got the concession stand bid.
Well, I think that's remarkable.
Thank you for explaining that.
And I'll get you a breakdown of it. I just didn't have time to get it all out to you today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And the spray pad, everything's ready to go for this season. Good. Okay, City Clerk, please.
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Kayler.
Aye. Commissioner Wilson, please.
I move that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance accepting the bid for sale to the city of one rear Packer refuse collection truck and authorizing the mayor to execute a contract for same. This ordinance is summarized as follows. The city of Paducah accepts the bid of TAG Truck Center LLC in the amount of $157,677 for sale to the city of Paducah for one rear Packer refuse collection truck for use by the Solid Waste Division of the Public Works Department and authorizes the mayor to execute a contract for same.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? We've discussed these before. City Clerk, please.
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Kayler.
Aye. Commissioner Abraham, please.
I move that the Board of Commissioners adopt an ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing and directing the mayor to execute an addendum number 2 to the agreement to employ Jeffrey A. Peterson as Paducah City Manager. This ordinance is summarized as follows. The city hereby approves the addendum to the employment agreement with Jeffrey Peterson and authorizes the mayor to execute said addendum. The changes are as follows. The term of agreement increase effective December 7th, 2013 to December 7th, 2016, a salary increase to $150,000 annually and an increase in annual vacation to 20 days.
Second.
Thank you.
I was just going to make him sweat just a little.
Too old to sweat.
City Clerk, please.
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Kayler.
Aye. Thank you, Jeff.
Thank you.
Commissioner Rhodes, please.
All right.
Oh, Commissioner Galt, please, sorry.
I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, an ordinance authorizing the mayor to execute a grant agreement and all documents relating thereto with the Kentucky Office of Highway Safety for a distracted driving enforcement grant award. This ordinance is summarized as follows, that the City of Paducah authorizes the mayor to execute a grant agreement and all documents relating thereto with the Kentucky Office of Highway Safety in the amount of $30,000 for overtime traffic enforcement activities related to distracted driver traffic enforcement during the week of April 7th through May 18th, 2014. No local cash match is required.
Second.
Good evening, Mayor, Commissioners, thank you.
Chief.
We are putting everybody on notice. Yeah, you gave the date.
I was going to say,
April
be on
7th.
notice.
It's already started through May the 18th. So this is one of those mini grants that pops up from time to time from the state. It is fully funded, no match. It is for overtime and fuel costs, so no cost to the city.
So last
yes,
night on Park
beware.
Avenue, they were lined up. Was that related to this?
Partially, yes, partially. That's
6:30.
two grants combined is what
Yeah,
that is.
well, at about 7:30, there were
About 6:30.
multiple cars stopped on
Yeah.
there.
So percentage-wise, in today's reality, there's more people texting than more people not texting while they're driving.
You're
You
correct.
think?
I mean, well, the way we word that is distracted driving. Yes, texting is a portion of that.
What other would fall under that for
It
distracted
has a lot to do
driving?
with just distractions in general, whether you're looking at a GPS in front of you, whether you're looking at the radio to try to change it, whether you're grabbing the baby's blanket that fell in the floorboard in the back seat, the sippy cup, whatever it may be. Our focus is just as a larger issue to distracted driving. Pay attention to what you're doing in front of you. Don't be paying attention to all the peripherals. And yes, texting and use of a cell phone or other device is a large portion of that. It is a huge concern, and it's a growing concern of ours.
Do you think they'll ever come up with something that are programmed into cars at the factories that will disable cell phones when you get in your car?
I think something will be out there. I don't know if it'll ever, if the automakers will allow that to happen or not,
So-
but yeah, there are apps that are out there now.
There are.
That will restrict the use of a cell phone, yeah. So I would encourage people to look at those.
And pretty much, there was a commercial, saw a commercial last night. Car will just stop itself, just brake. It'll brake, turn your cell phone off.
Yeah, we won't be driving the cars
Just-
before long.
Take me to City Hall. Car goes straight to City Hall.
Thank you, Chief.
Thank you.
Okay. Commissioner Rhodes, please.
All right. I move that the Board of Commissioners introduce an ordinance entitled, an ordinance of the City of Paducah, Kentucky, approving a memorandum of understanding by and among the City of Paducah, Kentucky and Higdon Development Incorporated with respect to the residential development of vacant property within the corporate boundaries of the City of Paducah, and authorizing the execution of various documents related to such memorandum of understanding. This ordinance is summarized as follows. This ordinance authorizes the City of Paducah, Kentucky to approve a memorandum of understanding between Higdon Development Incorporated and the City of Paducah, Kentucky for the construction of a multifamily residential condominium development located on Bleich Road in the City of Paducah, McCracken County, Kentucky. The mayor is hereby authorized to execute the memorandum of understanding together with such other agreements, instruments, and certifications for said project.
Second.
Steve?
Hello again. Per our last meeting, planning staff reviewed other cities across the state and also other states looked at their policies on development agreements, and what we found is that it varies across the board. whether some, like Owensboro, has 5 years, and then some states, they exceed 10 years. With that, we met with Phil and Philip Higdon and listened to them about the development request and some of the reasoning behind the request. From that meeting, tonight we're making a request for the full 10 years. And some of that's based upon our understanding of some of the market conditions, how quickly they're building out. Also, there's only been 3 developments since the original request in 2005. Additionally, the existing ordinance is set up that the money paid back to the developer can't exceed the ad valorem property taxes that we receive or the total amount of infrastructure costs. That plus we're somewhat wanting to be developer friendly in the understanding of some of the development costs. We're proposing the 10 years.
And will this be very similar to the one right across the road, Lakewood Villas?
Yes, yeah, there'll be 4 plexes. I believe there'll be 50 plus units total.
And all of those that's been very successful. They're all full, really nice living space.
That's correct. They're all filled, and that's the reason they're starting the phase 2. That agreement was originally passed, I believe, in 2005.
So it's good. That's okay.
When does the tenure start?
This is actually a member understanding saying generally within 1 year from this date, they have to submit a infill development agreement to the City Commission for approval. At that point is when it starts for 10 years.
Okay, so it's from the date, not of construction, the day we do the paperwork.
That's right. And the reason for that is they have to do all their subdivision work and also submit some information to our engineering public works director on the amount of the infrastructure cost that's actually going to take to build it. That information is put in the infill development agreement that you all actually vote on at a later point.
Thank you.
And I certainly think we need to encourage development within the city, and this is one means to do that with.
Certainly.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments? Okay, we have city manager's report.
Briefly, the PRDA board met today and finalized, I believe, its set of recommendations in report form to be presented to you next Tuesday regarding their review and recommendations of the riverfront development project. So that will be the focus of our workshop next Tuesday night. A lot of issues in the works right now. Read in the paper this morning that the Animal Shelter Task Force is progressing, and there are 2 options being vigorously pursued right now. I believe it's the intent of that group to finalize their work by the end of this month. I believe there's a meeting planned for the last Tuesday in April, and from that will come 1 or more recommendations for sheltering going forward, possibly one of which might include animal control along with it. So I think that's going to bear fruit in terms of some viable options to take a look at. Certainly everybody agrees that the present setup is not acceptable for any extended period of time going forward. The 911 board met today. I haven't had a chance to talk to anybody about that, but to take up for the first time the recommendations that were contained in the consultant's report that you all heard a couple weeks ago. So we'll look forward to seeing what comes from that. And the last thing I have is a request for an executive session for economic development.
Mayor,
Mm-hmm.
I would also like to add a personnel issue onto that executive session.
Okay. Who has that?
I do.
Will you check that before we read it? Wait just a minute here. Any commissioner comments? I do have one thing I wanted to say, that today is also National Equal Pay Day, and women make up nearly half of the nation's workforce and are primary breadwinners in 4 out of 10 American households with children under the age of 18. And today, women still only make 77 cents to every man's dollar. And the pay gap is even wider for women of color. So it's been more than half a century since John F. Kennedy signed the Equal Pay Act, but we're still not paid equally. So it's just, an awareness of that. So just wanted to mention that.
Why do you think that
Commissioner?
is?
Why do women,
I mean, why do you think leadership allows that to happen?
why don't women speak up for themselves more, maybe,
Well, I
too?
mean, you're the mayor, so you're speaking for them.
I think we.
I mean, I'm serious.
we
It's
pa-
it's ridiculous.
pay equally
You
in
know,
the city?
We pay for the job.
Maybe we should check into that. We pay for the job. No. So if it's a man or a woman, they get the same pay for that set job.
Yeah, we're in good shape.
Okay.
it's a great place to start, right in the house, isn't it?
Yes, it is.
Yeah. I have. Are you finished? Yeah. I have and I guess I need to find out exactly who's responsible for this. There are quite often I get calls from residents about dead animals in the street, and so when I call and I'll call and report that, and pretty much every time this is the response I get. Well, that should go to the animal warden, but I don't think they do that. I don't think they pick up animals. So what about the street department? I'm not sure. I don't think they do, or they're supposed to. Bottom line is this: what happens to the animal? I mean, we pride ourselves on having a nice, clean city. So animals lying in the street, and you can't connect with the department or person responsible for removing that, that's an issue. So I would just like a clear understanding on whose responsibility that is.
Who's the animal removal person?
I'll research that and report it to you all. Can't tell you tonight just exactly what our animal control ordinance says about that. I know I've had a call or two since I've been here about an animal on the street, and I've asked the street department, and they've responded. So
Yeah.
let me just
Well-
check. I think that's a matter that also probably should come under review in conjunction with what I anticipate to be a general review of our animal control policies, looking ahead to the new setup with animal control and sheltering.
I think that would be time.
But I agree with you. I mean, I don't think that dead animals need to be laying on the street. So
Yeah. We all agree on it. It's just finding the person to get to do the job to remove it. So I think that would be timely if that animal control issue is on the table for review.
We even have a lot of deer now in the city, so we have those issues. All right. Thanks, Richard.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Okay. Any public comments? Okay. Who has the executive session?
I do.
Did someone raise their hand?
No, we're good. We're good. Mark was going to talk about the farmer's market a little bit, but he can wait.
Are you?
Do you want to?
Fine.
Yes, talk.
It wasn't on the agenda, sorry. Okay.
They've been working very hard. They've had their first meeting. It was really an excellent meeting with the farmers. And our soft opening is going to be on April the 21st. So they'll start having fruits, vegetables there on the 21st. We'll have a grand opening later in May.
And the community garden, talk a little bit about it.
We're already taking, if you want to get involved we're taking, you can
Why?
buy your plots now, and we're having folks in, and so they're all available and ready to go. So
I got 3, so it's enough to even bury someone in.
there you go. In fact, Cindy Medford said she buried carrots seeds the other day, so she's ready to go too.
So we can go ahead and start
You
working.
can go ahead and start working. Yes.
On the farmer's market, did you get a good indication and response this year from?
We had our first, we had 7 farms represented. We had 2 new folks and one who wasn't sure whether she was going to be able to come back, but that was the woman with the honey, and she's coming back. And we've had about 3 or 4 more phone calls of folks coming in. So I think we've gotten a positive response. They really responded positively to Molly's message, and so they're coming in. I think it's going to be good, and she's looking for more.
And you might have said this, I missed it. Days of the week? Are you?
We're going 6 days a week, Monday through Saturday,
Okay.
and so and we're working out. We're pretty sure that we're going to get the insurance situation worked out. So without a whole lot of issues. So if you've got somebody who wants to come and contact us, we'll accept that and make sure that Molly's on the ball, getting right on top of it and talking to them.
Insurance is not.
Thank you.
We don't think so.
Close.
We're close. We're close in on that, so
I know for a fact.
we'll know.
I'll say the Amish.
Okay.
All right.
Send them to us.
Okay.
Who has the executive session?
I do. I move that the board go into closed session for discussion of matters pertaining to the following topics: issues which might lead to the appointment, dismissal, or disciplining of an employee as permitted by KRS 61810-1F, and a specific proposal by a business entity where public discussion of the subject matter would jeopardize the location, retention, expansion, or upgrading of a business entity as permitted by KRS 61.8101G.
Second.
Okay, roll call, please.
Commissioner Abraham,
Aye.
Commissioner Galt,
Aye.
Commissioner Rhodes,
Aye.
Commissioner Wilson,
Aye.
Mayor Kayler.
Aye. And we will not be taking any action, so we will not be back. Meeting's adjourned.